So what? Okay, what I'm going to do, I've muted you all. If you have any questions, so please write it in the chat box, because what's happening, it's causing problem or interruption in the recording. So that is why, if you have any queries, you can just write it in the chat box. I will unmute you, and then we can discuss it that point over there, or we can discuss it at the end, whatever is convenient for you. So today we are going to study the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor, this deep superficial perineal pouch, the deep perineal pouch, the urogenital diaphragm, the anal triangle, and the esophageal fossa. We are going to discuss today. So first of all, I would like to start with the pelvic fascia. So the pelvic fascia, it is formed of connective tissue, and it is continuous above with the fascia lining the abdominal wall. So it's the same fascia which is connecting. The abdominal fascia is now going toward pelvis and the perineum. So above this pelvic fascia, it is in continuous with the lining of the abdominal wall, and below this fascia is continuous with the fascia of the perineum. So now, as similar as we had the abdominal fascia divided into parietal and the visceral ear, so this pelvic fascia is also divided into the parietal and the visceral ear. So the parietal pelvic fascia, it lines the walls of the pelvis, and it is named according to the muscle it overlies. Where the pelvic diaphragm is deficient anteriorly, the parietal pelvic fascia, it becomes continuous through the opening with the fascia covering the inferior surface of the pelvic diaphragm in the perineum. So I'm going to tell you in the next few subsequent slides that where the parietal pelvic fascia is deficient and when it becomes continuous downwards into the perineum. This parietal pelvic fascia, it also covers the sphincter urethra muscle and the perineal membrane, and it forms the superior facial layer of the urogenital diaphragm. We are going to discuss what urogenital diaphragm is, so it will be more clear to you at that point of time. Now we have the visceral layer of pelvic fascia. So the visceral means the organ. So it's the layer which is covering the pelvic organs. So it's not only covering, it's also providing support to the pelvic viscera. In certain location, this fascia, it becomes thickened and it extends from the viscus, that is from the organ, to the pelvic walls, and it provides supports as well. These fascial ligaments, when it becomes thick, these fascial ligaments, they are named according to the attachment. For example, the pubovesical and the sacrovesical. Now the pelvic peritoneum, the parietal peritoneum, it's lined the pelvic walls and it is reflected on the pelvic viscera, and it becomes continuous with the visceral peritoneum. So this parietal peritoneum and the visceral peritoneum, when it comes on the viscera or any organ, it becomes continuous with each other. So it's the same thing that the parietal peritoneum, it lines the pelvic walls and it is reflected on the pelvic viscera, and it becomes continuous with the visceral peritoneum. Now coming to the point that what is pelvic floor by itself. So pelvic floor, another name for pelvic floor is pelvic diaphragm. Now the function of this pelvic floor is that it maintains the intra-abdominal pressure, and it also helps in urinary and fecal incontinence by preventing them to have incontinence, either of the urine or the fecal incontinence. So you can see this whole area is a pelvic diaphragm, and it has the organs. You can see the presence of the organs are there. This is the female one, female pelvic, female pelvic organ, and these are the male pelvic organs. So now what is pelvic diaphragm? So am I clear till here to all of you? Next, what we are going to study is the pelvic diaphragm. So pelvic diaphragm, it is formed by the important two muscles. What are those muscles? The first one is the levator ani muscle, and another one is a small coccygeus muscle, and it's covering fascia. Now this pelvic diaphragm, it is incomplete anteriorly to allow the passage of urethra in males, and in females, it allows the passage of urethra and vagina in the females. So please note this point that pelvic diaphragm, it has only allows, if you look this, if you consider this as a pelvic diaphragm, which is deficient anteriorly, so it goes direct, it forms directly the urethra in male and in female both. And below, when it goes down, if it's a female pelvis, then it will also give path to the vagina as well, but not in the male pelvis. So that is why the pelvic diaphragm does not have, it's an, this space is an empty space. It does not have any peritoneum here. That is why we say that this space is deficient of peritoneum, and it goes downward anteriorly to allow. And why this is deficient? Because the reason is that to allow the urethra, passage of urethra in males and females, and also the vagina in female, in cases of female. Now, what are the openings of pelvic diaphragm? So we have two openings, that is hiatus, urogenitalis. So uro means related to the urinary pathways, and genital means any organ which will be related to any genitalia. So this it's a triangular gap between the anterior fibers of both the levator ani muscles. The gap is closed from below by the urogenital diaphragm, and it transmits urethra, vagina in females behind the urethra. So if you see this space, these are the openings that are there. This is the opening of the anal canal, and this is the opening that is important for it. That is why this part is deficient anteriorly to allow the passage of urethra as well as the vagina. Now hiatus rectalis. So that means it allows anything which is related to a rectum part. It will allow the organ to pass through it. So it's a round aperture. If you see here, it's a round aperture between the perineal body and anococcygeal raphe. It transmits the anorectal junction. So the anus and the rectum begins from this point, that anus will end and the rectum will end and the anus will begin from this point. So this is the point that we call as hiatus rectalis. Now, what is the function of this pelvic diaphragm? So the function of the pelvic diaphragm, it supports the pelvic viscera, and it counteracts the downward thrust of the diaphragm during increased intra-abdominal pressure. So because it's supporting all the pelvic viscera organ, and when the diaphragm is being pushed down, it maintains the increased intra-abdominal pressure at that point of time. In male, the importance of pelvic diaphragm is that the anterior fibers of levator ani, it elevates the prostate. Hence, it is also another name for it is levator prostae, because the anterior fibers of the levator ani, they support and elevate the prostate. So if you I can explain you more that these are the fibers of the levator ani muscles on both the sides. So the prostrate is lying here. So what it does, it helps the prostrate to be in position and also keeps it in a normal, in an elevated position in cases of male. Now, what does this anterior 5, now what does this pelvic diaphragm do in cases of female? It, it helps in constricting the vagina, and it also acts as a sphincter vaginae. That is why it prevents the downward displacement of uterus through the vaginal canal. So if we consider these as the fibers, anterior fibers of levator ani on both the sides, right and the left side. So this opening is known as the vaginal opening. So this opening can constrict, it can get enlarged, depending what is the function. So this opening is basically working as an sphincter. It can contract, it can enlarge, and then it will, once it is contracted, it will prevent the downward. Here is the placement of the uterus. So because this opening is closed, the uterus will not be able to come downward. Because if uterus comes down, it will become as a prolapse of the uterus. So this pelvic diaphragm has a very important role in supporting the pelvic viscera. And then, as I told you before, that the pelvic diaphragm, it is made up of two muscles, the levator ani, and another one is the smaller one, is the coccygeus muscle. So this coccygeus muscle, it pulls the coccyx bone forward after it is being displayed backward during defecation and parturition. So this small muscle, it's very helpful during the process of defecation as well as during the process of labor as well. How it helps in defecation, that we are going to study when we do it, when we are going to go in the next session. It does not only helps in defecation, it also helps in micturition. Also, it helps in the labor process. So how it helps during defecation? The puborectalis sling, it relaxes, and the rectum and the anal canal, they form as a straight tube. At the same time, the puboanal fibers, they elevate the anus. You don't need to know the mechanism of either defecation, micturition, or the labor process, we all know. But we just need to know that its importance or its function is in cases of defecation, in cases of micturition, as well as in cases of in the period of during labor. Now, in labor or in parturition, the puborectal sling upon which the fetal head resides allows the forward rotation of the head into the lower part of the birth canal. And then we have what happens in cases of micturition. This pubococcygeal muscle, it relaxes as the intra-abdominal pressure rises, and the neck of the bladder, it descends. This descent, it stimulates the contraction of the detrusor muscle of the urinary bladder. It helps in voiding of the urine. So basically what happens, if I can explain you in a more easier way, that this is the abdomen, and as the abdominal pressure rises, the pressure of the abdomen, it increases. So the neck of the bladder, if this is the neck of the bladder, it enlarges or it descends down. Now this detrusor muscle, now this neck of the bladder, it contains a detrusor muscle. So this detrusor muscle, it begins to contract. When it contracts, the bladder, it starts to empty, and the urine flows out. Now, as I told you that pelvic diaphragm, it is made up of three muscles, the puborectalis, the pubocox. The pelvic diaphragm, it is basically made up of two muscles. That is the levator ani muscle and the coccygeus muscle. Now, this levator ani muscle, it is divided into three parts, or it has three fibers, the anterior fiber, the intermediate fibers, and the posterior fibers. So, it forms the puborectalis, it forms the pubococcygeus and the ileococcygeus. So if you look here at the red line, this is the puborectalis muscle. This is the pubic symphysis, and this is the back, this is the posterior part of the pelvic diaphragm. So this red part, it's a puborectalis muscle, which has the opening of the vagina, and also it has the opening of the urethra. Then we have the pubococcygeus muscle, that is the intermediate fibers of the pubococcygeus muscle. Then in the last, we have the iliococcygeus fibers, or the posterior fibers, we call them. Now this levator and muscle and this coccygeus muscle, it together forms the pelvic diaphragm. Is it clear till here? Or you want me to repeat anything? Okay, thank you, Debalini, for acknowledging, please. Okay, so now we have the levator ani muscle. I'm going to discuss the origin, the insertion, the nerve supply, and the function of the levator ani muscle. So levator ani muscle, it's a white thin sheet that has a linear origin from the back of the body of the pubis bone. So this muscle, its origin is from the back of the body of this bone, and its tendinous arc, it forms a thickening of the fascia, which is covering the obturator internus muscle and the spine of the ischium. Now, from this extensive origin, so its origin is basically the back from the back of the body of the pubis, this muscle. So these fibers, they go downward and medially towards the point of the incision. So this is it is now divided into three fibers and the posterior fibers. So these anterior fibers, they're also known, they can also be known as the levator prostati in cases of male. In cases of female, we can call it as an sphincter vaginae because it forms a sling around the prostate in cases of male, or vagina in cases of female, and it is inserted into a fibrous tissue that is called the perineal body. Now this perineal body, it lies in front of the anal canal. So if I can explain you here the origin, this is the puborectalis muscle. This allows the opening of the urethra and the vagina in cases of female, and it allows the opening of the prostate and urethra in cases of male. So this puborectalis muscle these are the anterior fibers of the levator ani muscle. So this levator prostati, the function of this levator prostati, its function is to support the prostate and stabilize the perineal body. And the function of the sphincter vaginae, it constricts the vagina and it stabilizes the perineal body. So the anterior fibers have the similar function, that is, they both are stabilizing the perineal body, but in cases of male, they are supporting the prostate, and in cases of female, constricting the vagina, as to prevent the downward displacement of the uterus or to prevent the prolapse of the uterus. Now coming to the intermediate fibers of the levator ani muscle. So these puborectalis muscle, it forms a sling around the junction of the rectum and the anal canal. So you can see here, this green part is the puborectalis muscle. It is a junction in between the rectum and the anal canal. And the pubococcygeus passes posteriorly to be inserted into a small fibrous mass, which is called as the anococcygeal body, which is lying in between the tip of the coccyx and the anal canal. So you can see here that this anococcygeal body, it's nothing. It's an area between the tip of the coccyx bone and the anal canal. And this puborectalis muscle, it's a green muscle that you can see here. It is forming a sling in between the rectum and the anal canal. Then we have the iliococcygeus part of the posterior fibers of the levator ani. So the posterior fibers of the levator ani muscle, they are called the iliococcygeus, and it is inserted into the anococcygeal body and the coccyx bone. So you can see here, this is the body of the pubis bone. The muscle is originating. The whole of the levator ani muscles will be originating from here, and part of the from the obturator internus muscle, and also from the ischial spine, the origin of the levator ani muscle. But then this iliococcygeus, the pubococcygeus, it will get inserted, or the iliococcygeus, it will get inserted into the anococcygeal body and the coccyx bone. This coccyx bone is lying below, so it's not clearly seen here, but that is the insertion point of these posterior fibers. Now, what is the action of these levator ani muscle? These levator ani muscles, from the right side and from the left side, they form an efficient muscular sling that supports, and it also maintains the pelvic viscera in position. So it has two functions, that is not only of the supporting, but also maintains the position as well. Then we have the nerve supply of the levator ani muscle. So the levator ani muscle, it is supplied from the perineal branch of the fourth sacral nerve and from the perineal branch of the pudendal nerve. So both are the perineal branches. One of them is from the pudendal nerve and another one is from the sacral nerve. Now you can see here that this levator ani muscle, it forms a V-shaped structure. That is, if we look here, this whole is a V-shaped structure. Now, as the pelvic diaphragm is made up of two muscles, one of them is the levator ani, another one is the coccygeus muscle. So the coccygeus muscle, it's a very small triangular muscle which is arising from the spine of the ischium, and it is inserted into the lower end of the sacrum and also into the coccyx bone. Now, what does this coccygeus muscle do? It assists the levator ani muscle in supporting the pelvic viscera. So they both muscles, the levator ani muscle and the coccygeus muscle, they work together in hand to hand. That is, the function is to supporting the pelvic viscera. Now this coccygeus muscle, it is supplied by the branch of the fourth and the fifth sacral nerve, while the levator ani muscle, it was supplied by the perineal branch of the pudendal nerve as well as the branch of the fourth sacral nerve. Now you can see here, this green part is the coccygeus muscle. This green one is the coccygeus muscle. And can anyone tell me which muscle is this one? And which muscle is this? Anyone, please try it out. I have unmuted you. You can all answer. You can all give me an answer even by unmuting yourself. Yes, puborectalis. Excellent. Pubococcygeus. Yeah, very good. So anyone can quickly revise for me the levator ani muscle and the coccygeus muscle. What is the origin, insertion, and the function of both the muscles? You can unmute yourself and you can answer it. Nupur, would you like to try? Anyone? Rubina, would you like to try? Deebalina? Okay. Yeah, please, anyone can try it out.
Ma'am,
And yes, please, Nupur, go ahead.
elevator ani is made up of three muscles,
Hmm.
namely puborectalis, pubococcygeus, and iliococcygeus.
Hmm.
Along with coccygeus muscle, these form the diaphragm, pelvic diaphragm.
Hmm.
The levator ani originates, all three muscles originate from the back of the pubis bone, the obturator internus membrane, and ischial spine.
Hmm.
Puborectalis forms a sling on itself, which has the urogenital hiatus and the anorectal hiatus. The pubococcygeus is inserted into the anococcygeal body and part of the coccyx.
Hmm.
And the iliococcygeus is also inserted into the anococcygeal body and the coccyx. The
Hmm.
the levator ani is supplied by the perineal branch of pudendal nerve and the perineal branch of sacral nerve.
Hmm.
And the coccygeus muscle is supplied by the branch of fourth and fifth sacral nerve,
Hmm.
and it
And
arises from the ischial spine
hmm.
and uh, and inserts into the coccyx.
Yes, as in the name is coccyx, so it will insert into the coccyx as well as the lower end of the sacrum also.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And the action of both muscles are they work together to support the pelvic viscera from descending.
Yeah. And also, what is the other function of a levator ani?
It helps in micturition and defecation
Yes. And
a- and parturition.
yeah. And
And I don't remember, ma'am.
okay, no problem. Very well done, Nupur. You have excellently, very well explained to us. So I'll just add one point to here that both the muscles, the levator ani and coccygeus muscle, they help in supporting the pelvic viscera. The addition function of levator ani muscle is to maintain the pelvic viscera also in the position. Okay, Nupur? Yeah, maintaining the position. Yeah, Rubina, you're very right. So now, next we have two triangles that we need to understand. The first one is the urogenital triangle that is known as the anterior triangle as well. So you can see here a very clear diagram. This is the pubic symphysis. This is the coccyx bone. This is the ischial tuberosity. This is a small part. This is the sacrotuberous ligament. This whole area, posterior part, is the anal triangle. The front part or the anterior part is the urogenital triangle. So if we look here, this is an anal triangle in the posterior part, and this is the urogenital triangle anteriorly. Now, what is this urogenital triangle? It's the part which is in the anterior part of the perineum. It's a triangular area. As you can see here, the pink one is a triangular area and it has boundaries. That is, anteriorly, it is formed by the pubic symphysis bone. Posteriorly, that is, it is formed by a line which is passing through the two ischial tuberosities. In between the two ischial tuberosities is the posterior part of the urogenital triangle. Now, laterally, this is the ischiopubic ramus and the ischial tuberosity. So this part is the ischial tuberosity. This part is the ischial tuberosity, and this is the ischiopubic ramus. So it is from the lateral boundary of the urogenital triangle. So, and now this urogenital triangle, it divides then into further into superficial perineal pouch, which is superficial to the perineal membrane. Now, this is this any of the, as we told, that if anywhere these are the layers, that is the viscera, that is the parietal layer, and the visceral layer, they are both covering the viscera into the perineum. So it will also be covering in the urogenital triangle. So superficial to the now, if I consider here as simply as a simple perineal membrane, so anything superficial to this will be superficial perineal pouch, and anything which is deeper to this perineal membrane is going to be deep perineal pouch. If we consider this as a ischial tuberosity on both sides, on the right and the left side, so this is space in between above is the urogenital triangle, and the space below is going to be forming as the anal triangle, and this line is the perineal membrane basically. And this perineal membrane, it is separating in between the urogenital. This is separating in between the urogenital triangle as well as the anal triangle. So it's forming a boundary or a separation between the urogenital triangle and the anal triangle. Okay, no, not okay. So can any okay? So we have here two things we have just studied. We have studied one thing as the pelvic diaphragm. Another one is the urogenital triangle, or another name we can also call it as a urogenital diaphragm. So can anyone tell me the difference between both of these? Between the pelvic diaphragm and the urogenital triangle or the urogenital diaphragm.
Ma'am, pelvic diaphragm is formed by the levator ani and coccygeus muscle, and urogenital triangle is the partition from when we divide the perineum into anterior triangle and posterior triangle. So the anterior triangle is a urogenital triangle.
Yes, excellent. Anything else? Okay, and one, yeah, okay. So, okay, I will also tell you that what I have written it. This pelvic diaphragm, it's composed of two muscles, as she told her, that it is levator ani and the coccygeus muscle. So this is the same thing. Or another name, it is the urogenital diaphragm or the anal triangle, urogenital triangle. It is the area between the pubic arches, and it consists of sphincter urethra and the deep transverse perineal muscles. It is enclosed within the two layers of the fascia of the urogenital diaphragm, and the inferior layer of this is known as the perineal membrane. So as I told you, this lower part of the triangle, this lower part is known as the perineal membrane. If this is the urogenital triangle, these both are the ischial tuberosities. This is the pubis bone or pubic symphysis, if we can very closely say it. And this part is the perineal membrane. So this perineal membrane, it is pierced. This area is now pierced by the urethra. Now this area, it is pierced by the urethra and the vagina. In cases of male and female, it will be pierced by the urethra in both of them. In both of them, this area will be pierced by the urethra, but in cases of female, additionally, it will be pierced by the vagina as well. And because of this perineal membrane, this Yeah, because of this perineal membrane, this area now is divided into two pouches, the superficial pouch and the deep perineal pouch. Is it clear till here? So if you look here, that this is the ischial tuberosity. This is the another one ischial tuberosity. Sorry, this is the pubic bones of both the sides. This is the perineal membrane. This is the superficial perineal pouch, which is superficial to the perineal membrane, and this deep is deeper to the this deep perineal pouch is deeper to the perineal membrane. Now, as we've already discussed, that this is the we have the superficial perineal pouch. This is the pelvic fascia, which is divided into the visceral layer and the parietal layer. We have the perineal membrane. We have the superficial perineal pouch. We have the deep perineal pouch. If we go from outside to inside, the first thing that will come is the superficial perineal pouch. The middle thing will come as the deep perineal pouch. And lastly, or in the end, will come as the pelvic fascia. And if we go deeper inside to the pelvic fascia, we can find the pubic arch. Now, what is superficial fascia and what is deep fascia? So this superficial fascia of the urogenital angle can be divided into fatty layer and the membranous layer. Now this fatty layer, another name, as we also studied in part of abdomen also, that this fatty layer is continuous with the fat of this fatty layer, that is fascia of Camper. It is continuous with the fat of the ischiorectal fossa and the superficial fascia of the thighs. So it also goes downward. So this superficial fascia, it is divided into two layers, the fatty layer and the membranous layer. This fatty layer is another name for this fatty layer is the fascia of Camper, which is continuous downwards with the fat of the ischiorectal fossa and superficial fascias of the thigh. So this fatty layer, it also goes towards the lower limb. When it goes into the lower limb, it is called as the superficial fascia of the thigh. When it goes into the perineum, when it goes into the perineal organs, into the male genital organ, in the scrotum, this fatty layer is replaced by a smooth muscle, which is called as the dartos muscle. So in the scrotum, this fat layer is replaced by smooth muscle that is called as the dartos muscle. Now, what is the function of this dartos muscle? It contracts in response to cold and it reduces the surface area of the scrotal skin. This is all we read about fatty layer. Now, what is the membranous layer called? So the membranous layer is also called as the Colles fascia. This membranous layer, it is posteriorly attached to the posterior border of the urogenital diaphragm, and laterally it is attached to the margins of the pubic arch. Anteriorly, this membranous layer, it is continuous with the membranous layer of the superficial fascia of the anterior abdominal wall, that is also called as the Scarpa's fascia. So you can see that all the fascias, that is the membranous fatty layer, the membranous layer, they're all connected to each other. From the abdomen, it goes into the pelvis, and from the pelvis, it goes into the lower limb. And as the organ comes, that is the male genital organ or the female genital organ, it covers them also. So this fascia, this membranous layer or Colles fascia, it is continued over the penis or clitoris as a tubular sheath. In the scrotum or labia majora, it forms a distinct layer. Is it clear till here? Shall we move ahead? All right, okay. Now, what is now, as I told you about the superficial perineal pouches and the deep perineal pouch. Now, this superficial perineal pouch, if you see here, this is the perineal membrane. So, superficial to this perineal membrane is the superficial perineal pouch. Now, this superficial perineal pouch, it is formed by the membranous layer of the superficial fascia. What is another name for the membranous layer? We just studied it right now. Anyone? Yes, yeah, it's Colles fascia. Excellent. And the roof of the superficial perineal pouch, this is the roof. So this roof is formed by the perineal membrane. The sides are formed by the pubic arch on both the sides, and posteriorly it is formed by the fusion of the perineal membrane and the superficial fascia. And anteriorly, the superficial perineal pouch, it opens with the anterior abdominal wall. So this superficial perineal pouch, it is anteriorly, it is connected with the anterior abdominal wall, and posteriorly, it is formed by the fusion of the perineal membrane and the superficial fascia. Now, if you look here, this is these are the pubic arches on both the side, right at the left side, and the area. This is the perineal membrane. This whole is the perineal membrane. Superficial to this perineal membrane is the superficial perineal pouch. And this superficial perineal pouch or perineal space, it is formed, it is connectively, it is anteriorly, it is connecting with the anterior abdominal wall. That is why it has connection with anteriorly with the anterior abdominal wall. Now, what are the structures which are found in the superficial perineal pouch? In cases of male, in cases of female. So in cases of male, we have the root of penis. In cases of female, we have root of clitoris. In terms of muscles of the male, we have bulbospongenius muscle, which is covering the bulb, and we have the ischio-cavernous muscle, which is covering the crura of the penis. Then we have the superficial transverse perineal muscles, the ducts of the bulbourethral glands, and we have urethra. These are within the bulb of the penis. Now, when we are going to study in detail about the male genital organs, definitely we are going to discuss it in detail over there. Then, in cases of male, we have the branches of the internal pudendal artery, that is perineal artery, dorsal artery of the penis, and deep artery of the penis. And we have the similar nerve, that is the branches of the pudendal nerve. Now, this is all about the structures which are present in the superficial perineal pouch of the male. Now, the superficial perineal pouch contains in cases of female. So in cases of female, we have the root of clitoris, which is similar to the male part. We have muscles. Same muscles will be there in both of them. That is bulbospongenius muscle covering the bulb of the vestibule. We have the ischio-cavernous muscle, which is covering the crura of the clitoris. We have superficial transverse perineal muscle. We have greater vestibular glands. Another name for greater vestibular glands is also, they are also known as the Bartholin gland. We have urethra in both of them, that is in the male as well as in the female. The arteries are also similar, that is branches of internal pudendal artery, that is perineal artery, dorsal artery of the clitoris, and the deep artery of clitoris. And we have also the branches of the pudendal nerve. So everything is similar in both the male and the female. Superficial perineal pouch. Now coming to the deep perineal pouch. So if you can see, this is the perineal membrane, and the structure which is superficial to it is the superficial perineal pouch, and the structure which is deeper to this is the deep perineal pouch. So the floor is formed. This floor is formed by the perineal membrane. So if you remember, in cases of deep perineal pouch, the floor is formed by the perineal membrane. But in cases of superficial perineal pouch, the roof is formed by the perineal membrane. So look at this difference, that this perineal membrane, it is forming the roof of the superficial perineal pouch, while it is forming as the floor of the deep perineal pouch. Remember this, please. And the roof of the deep perineal pouch, it is formed by the pelvic fascias. On both the sides will be the pubic arch, which is similar in both of them. And also anteriorly, it is formed by the fusion of the perineal membrane and pelvic fascia. And anteriorly and posteriorly, the boundaries are similar of the deep perineal pouch. That is, both of them, they are formed by the fusion of the perineal membrane and the pelvic fascia on the anteriorly as well as posteriorly as also. Now, what are the contents of the deep perineal pouch? So deep perineal pouch, you can see in cases of male and female, both of them, they contain the urethra, and we have bulbourethral glands present in case of only in females. That is, we'll find the bulbourethral glands, they are only found in cases of male, and but in cases of female, we are going to find the vagina. This is the difference in cases of male and the female deep perineal pouch. The muscles, the muscles which are forming two of the urogenital diaphragm, and also along with that, we have external urethral sphincter, which is around the urethra. Sphincter, the name indicates external urethral sphincter, which is an area which is around the urethra. Then we also have the deep perineal muscles, deep transverse perineal muscles in cases of male as well as in cases of female. So a very important point you can see here, that urethra, it is lying if I ask you what is the anatomical position of the urethra, so basically it is the part of the deep perineal pouch. And if I ask you what is the or if I ask you what is the anatomical position of the bulbospongineous muscle, either in cases of female as well in cases of female, then it is going to be superficial perineal pouch. Because this was a question, it was asked in 2017, I think, in which they ask you that what is the anatomical position of the bulbospongineous muscle in cases of male as well as female. So the correct answer was that the anatomical position is in the superficial perineal pouch. Now, structures which are found in the deep perineal pouch. So in cases of male, we will find the membranous part of membranous urethra. We'll find the deep transverse perineal muscle and the sphincter urethra muscle. We have bulbourethral glands of Cooper. We have branches of internal pudendal artery. We have branches of pudendal nerve, that is dorsal nerve of pudendal. And we have arteries, we have branches of the internal pudendal artery. In case of female, we not only have the urethra, but also the vagina. So if you are asked what is the anatomical position of the vagina, so the correct answer will be it is deep perineal pouch. It also has similar muscles, that is deep transverse perineal muscle and sphincter urethra muscle. In cases of male, there are bulbourethral glands, but in female, there are no glands present. We have also branches of the internal pudendal artery, that is artery to the clitoris. Similar in both of them. We have branches of the pudendal nerve, that is dorsal nerve of the clitoris, which is also artery, and the nerves, they are similar in both of them. And also arteries and nerve, they're also similar in pudendal artery, pudendal nerve in both superficial perineal pouch and deep perineal pouch. Okay. So anyone can quickly revise it for us, the superficial perineal pouch and the deep perineal pouch. Deebalina, would you like to try? Yes, so please, okay, you can't unmute yourself. Okay, let me unmute you. Yeah, now can you? Yeah, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. First, superficial perineal pouch.
Mm-hmm.
The boundary of the superficial perineal pouch from superficial to deep. Um, first we find the membranous layer of superficial fascia that is
Mm-hmm.
actually uh, continuous with the that is called the Colles fascia, and that is actually continuous with the fascia of Scarpa of abdomen.
Excellent.
It is the floor,
Yes.
and on two sides it is attached to the uh, ischial tuberosity.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the roof we find the perineal membrane.
Mm-hmm.
Then on two sides it is attached to the pubic arch. Posteriorly, the two membranes are fused with each other, that is the perineal membrane and the Colles fascia, but anteriorly they are open and the space is continuous with the open space of abdomen.
Yes.
And the contents of superficial perineal pouch are a little different in male and female, but those
Mm-hmm.
are the counterparts. Like
Yes.
in male, uh, the main contents are the root of penis. In contrary, in the females, we find the clitoris. And
Mm-hmm.
the muscles which are present in the um, male, that are the bulbospongiosus muscle, ischiocavernosus muscle, and the similar muscles which are present in females are the same, bulbospongiosus and ischiocavernosus. And the arteries which are present in males, those are the arteries supplying the penis. Those are the dorsal artery of penis and deep artery of penis, and those are actually the branches of the internal pudendal artery. And the
Mm-hmm.
nerve supply of this area, that is coming from the pudendal nerve. And the
Mm-hmm.
same kind of arteries, those are actually supplying the clitoris. And again, those are the branch of the internal pudendal artery, that is dorsal artery of clitoris and deep artery of clitoris, and also the perineal artery. And the
Okay.
nerve supply, that is also branch of the pudendal nerve.
Excellent.
And some glands are present there. The glands
Mm-hmm.
are in male, that is the bulbourethral gland and its ducts. And in females, the similar type of glands, that is the Bartholin glands.
Mm-hmm.
And the muscle which is present here, it is the superficial transverse perineal muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And the luminal structure that is present is the urethra in both.
Mm-hmm.
These are the structures we find the superficial perineal pouch. Then we come to the
Yeah.
deep perineal pouch. It is deeper to the superficial perineal pouch, and if we go from the superficial aspect, first we find the floor, and it is formed by the perineal membrane again, attached on two sides to the ischial tuberosity. Then the roof is formed by the pelvic fascia, and
Mm-hmm.
posteriorly the two, anteriorly again they are fused. And on the two sides, as usual, they are attached to the pubic arch. So it is a closed space, and this closed space contains the structures. Those are again similar in male and female, but they are the counterparts. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the main difference is that here in females, vagina is present, and in males, the membranous urethra is present. And in females, urethra is also present, but in extra vagina is present. And the arterial supplies again comes from internal pudendal artery in both sexes, and the nerve supply comes from pudendal nerve, and no gland is present here in females, but in males the bulbourethral gland is present. The muscle here which is present is the deep transverse perineal muscle, and deep transverse perineal muscle is present. From this much I can remember.
And okay.
And external sphincter muscle is also present.
Yeah, external sphincter. Yeah. Excellent. Very beautifully you have explained this. And it's good that you can recall everything very well. No problem. Now, just one thing I would also like to explain you, that if we consider with regards to the urogenital diaphragm, so the deep perineal space is the superficial fascia of the urogenital triangle. It lies in that space, the with relationship to the urogenital diaphragm, while the inferior fascia of the urogenital diaphragm, it holds the superficial perineal space. So please remember this very important point. This was asked in the question that what is the relationship of the superficial perineal space with regards to the urogenital diaphragm. It was one of the questions in the recent papers asking the relationship. So the superficial perineal space is the inferior forms by the inferior fascia or is an inferior relationship to the urogenital diaphragm, while deep perineal space, it is in with regards to the urogenital diaphragm, it is the superficial fascia or the superior fascia of the urogenital diaphragm. That is why I've specifically taken this picture just to explain this point. Now, okay. Now, can anyone tell me that if we dissect the area, so how will the muscles, like how will the layers come? Like in case of cesarean section, we dissected, so we started from the skin. Now, how about here? If we dissect it, so how will it come? Anyone? Anyone, please would like to try, Robina? Sana, would you like to try? Yeah, from superficial to deep. Yes. Yes, Tibalina, would you like to try? Or anyone can try it. From superficial to deep, yes. Yeah, sure, please go ahead.
Ma'am, muscles or the fascia?
Both of them.
Okay. If we approach from the perineum, then first we find the skin, then the superficial fascia, that is the fascia of Colles, then the superficial perineal pouch, then we find the perineal membrane, then deep perineal pouch. After deep perineal pouch, we'll find the pelvic fascia.
Yes.
After pelvic fascia, we'll find the pelvic diaphragm.
Yeah, the after pelvic fascia, you'll find the pelvic diaphragm. Yeah, very excellent. And very beautifully you have explained us that if we dissect it from superficial to deep, so it will come like this. But if we go from deep to superficial, it will go vice versa. Starting from the pelvic fascia, deep perineal pouch with its content. Then we have the perineal membrane, which is dividing in between the superficial and the perineal pouch. And then the superficial fascia, that is fascia of the Coulis. And then lastly, superficially, we will have the skin. Now comes the anal triangle. Now, what the front part, the anterior was known as the urogenital triangle. Now, the posterior part is known as the anal triangle. Now, this anal triangle is bounded behind by the tip of coccyx bone, and on each side lies the ischial tuberosity and the sacrotuberous ligament, which these two of them, the ischial tuberosity and the sacrotuberous ligament, they are overlapped by the border of the gluteus maximus muscle. So the gluteus maximus muscle is covering the ischial tuberosity as well as the sacrotuberous ligament on both the sides. Now, what is the content of this anal triangle? So what does this anal triangle contains? Now, if you see here, the anal triangle, this is the anal triangle, and this is the urogenital triangle. This is the coccyx bone. These are the ischial tuberosities. And now this anal triangle, it contains, as the name indicates, anal triangle. So it will contain the anal canal that is containing the anus. We have the ischiorectal fossa and ischiorectal fossa on both each side. And sometimes also we have the levator ani muscles here. Three things are present in this canal triangle. One of them is the ischiorectal fossa. Another, as a triangle name indicates, so it will contain anus or the anal canal, we can say it. Another thing that it also contains is the levator ani muscles, because the levator ani muscle is covering part of the anus, So that is why the levator ani muscles also will be here, will be surrounding the anal opening. Now, if you look here, this part is the anal triangle in this diagram, because this is the anal sphincter, which is here. And you can see here the gluteus maximus muscle, which is overlapping the ischial tuberosity on both the sides. So this small space is known as the anal triangle. Now, we have studied two triangles today. One of the triangle was the urogenital triangle, which is anteriorly, and posteriorly we have the anal triangle. And we've studied two pouches, that is the superficial perineal pouch, and we have the deep perineal pouch. Now, the next thing that we have is the ischiorectal fossa. Now, what this fossa is, it's a wedge-shaped space present on each side of the anal canal and below the pelvic diaphragm. If I can show you here, this hole is the anal canal. So on these sides, this hole is the ischiorectal fossa or the ischioanal fossa on both the sides, and it has this anal canal inside it. So this space, it is filled with fat, and it acts as elastic cushion and allows expansion of the rectum and anal canal during defecation. So this hole is the fat present here, because it will act as a cushion during the process of defecation. Now, as I told you, that ischiorectal fossa, it is wedge-shaped space with the base is downwards and towards the surface, and apex is upward. In terms of its dimension, the length is anterior posteriorly in dimensions. Length is 2 inches. The width is 1 inch, and depth it is 2 to 2.5 inches. So you can very easily remember, length and the depth are similar, that is 2 inch, and width is half of the length, that is 1 inch. Now, what are the boundaries of this ischiorectal fossa? So this ischiorectal fossa, laterally, it is formed by the tuberosity of the ischium bone, obturator internus muscle, obturator fascia, and pudendal canal. On the medial side, it is formed by the levator ani muscle, and the sphincter ani externus muscle, or we can say is that the anus external anal sphincter. We can say it also like this. And the third thing that we have is the anal fascia. So if very simply you can remember, just to be very simple, you can remember that laterally we have main role as the obturator fascia, which is the most important in forming the boundary, lateral boundary of the retiorectal fossa. And medially, it is formed by the external anal sphincter and also the levator ani fascia, the levator ani and the anal fascia. So to simplify it and very easily remember, laterally it is the obturator fascia, which is forming the lateral boundary of the retiorectal fossa on the lateral sides, both the lateral sides. Medially, it is formed by the levator ani, the fascia of the anus, and also we have the external anal sphincter. Now superiorly, it is formed by the linear origin of the levator ani muscle, or simply you can remember it as the levator ani muscle. And inferiorly, it is formed by the skin. This skin, the fat is forming the base of the retiorectal fossa. And superiorly, we can't see here, but if you look in any of the pictures, you will find it that this part is the levator ani muscle, which is forming the superior part. Now anteriorly, it is formed by the fascia of the Colles fascia, which was also coming from the abdomen. It is in continuous from the abdomen, it is coming downwards into the perineum. And also it is formed by the posterior border of the perineal membrane, or we can say that posterior margin of the perineal pouches. So this part is the retiorectal fossa on the sides. This yellow part is the retiorectal fossa you can see here on the sides. And posteriorly, you can see this is a gluteus maximus muscle, and this is the sacrotuberous ligament that is forming the posterior border of this retiorectal fossa. And now, what are the contents of this retiorectal fossa? So another name for this retiorectal fossa is fossa retioanalis. This is another name for this retiorectal fossa. Now this retiorectal fossa, it contains retiorectal pad of fat. You can see the pad of fat, which is the yellowish one, and also it has several nerves. Now what are the nerves that it contains? So it contains the fat, it contains the anus part, the external anal sphincter, the pudendal canal. Now pudendal canal contains internal pudendal vessel, pudendal nerve, and the perineal nerve. So these all together, they form the pudendal canal. So if I ask you, what is the content of the pudendal canal? Can anyone tell me? What is the content of the pudendal canal? By looking here in the anyone would like to try? Yes, pudendal nerve and the internal pudendal vessels. Excellent. And this pudendal canal is the position, it is found in the content of the retiorectal fossa. So now, previously we discussed that there was an external urethral sphincter. Now, if I ask you what is the anatomical location of the external anal sphincter, so it is located inside the retiorectal fossa, or it is the content of the retiorectal fossa. So if someone says pudendal canal, so you need to understand that they are talking about internal pudendal vessels, the pudendal nerve, and the perineal nerve. So everything is related to the pudendal nerve internal pudendal artery, internal pudendal vein, and the perineal nerve. Another name for this pudendal canal is the Alcock's canal. So anyone can just repeat for me quickly the boundaries of the ischiorectal fossa.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Rubina, please go ahead.
Ma'am, ischiorectal fossa is bounded medially by the anal canal, external anal sphincter, and laterally by the ischial tuberosity, obturator membrane, obturator internus muscle, and it is bounded externally or superficially by the Colles fascia and superficial layer, and on the superiorly it is bounded by the levator ani muscle, and it's
Inferiorly?
inferiorly, ma'am, inferiorly it is bounded by the by perineal membrane and
The skin. Only the
skin.
skin is there.
Yes.
And
And
what
ma'am,
about posteriorly? The posterior boundaries of the ischiorectal fossa?
ma'am, by gluteus maximus muscle
And
and
sacrotuberous ligament.
yes, ma'am, sacrotuberous ligament.
Yeah. Now, what are the contents of the ischiorectal fossa?
Ma'am, it contain fat, anal canal, external anal sphincter, and pudendal canal. And pudendal canal contain internal pudendal vessel and pudendal nerve and perineal nerve.
Yeah. Very beautifully explained, Ravina.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So, any questions before we move ahead with the discussion part? Okay, who is going to take my first question? Anyone who would like to try? Deebalina, would you like to start? Yeah, you all are unmuted. Yes, okay. So we have. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So please, yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
Which of the following structures separate the superficial perineal pouch from the deep perineal pouch? Superior levator ani? No. Inferior levator ani? No. Superior fascia of urogenital diaphragm. Superficial perineal pouch from deep perineal pouch. Perineal membrane, Colles fascia. D. Perineal membrane.
Yeah, excellent. Very brilliant. Perineal membrane is the one which separates both superficial and the deep perineal pouch. Okay, will you take the next one also?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, okay.
Which of the following is contained within the deep perineal pouch? A. Proximal portion of urethra, deep perineal pouch. Fatty layer of superficial fascia, ischiocavernosus muscle, bulbospongiosus muscle, superficial transverse perineal muscle. A. Proximal portion of urethra.
Yeah, excellent. Very right. Yeah, Ravina, Nupur, you all are right in the chat box. Thank you, Diva. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
ma'am.
much. Okay. Who is going to take the next one? Rubina, would you like to take?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, please go ahead.
Superficial perineal pouch is bordered superiorly by perineal fascia, glaudet fascia, deep perineal fascia, perineal membrane, bulbospongiosus muscle. Superiorly. Perineal fascia.
Perineal
नहीं,
fascia.
perineal membrane में.
Yes, excellent. Perineal membrane. It's the
It is the superficial layer or it is bounded superiorly in the superficial perineal pouch and it forms the floor of the deep perineal pouch.
Yeah, excellent. That is the reason I gave you just this question to clear this concept. Okay, will you take the next one also, Rubina?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
Which of the following muscle is contained within the superficial perineal pouch? External sphincter muscle of urethra, deep transverse perineal muscle, compressor urethra muscle, ureterovaginal sphincter, ischio-cavernous muscle. Ischio-cavernous muscle, ma'am.
Hmm.
Or A, external.
What will you mark? I'm waiting for your answer, Rubina.
E and
Yeah,
I'm confused about A.
yeah. Both of them are correct. E and A. It contains both of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Rubina. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Nupur, would you like to take the next one?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, go ahead, please.
Which of the following is not content of superficial perineal pouch? A. Bulbospongiosus muscle, B. Ischiocavernosus muscle, C. Superficial transverse perineum, D. External urethral sphincter, E. Corpus spongiosum. E. Corpus spongiosum, ma'am.
Mm,
E.
okay. Okay, let me show you the list. What is the content of the superficial perineal pouch? What is the content of the superficial pouch? Okay.
Bulbospongiosus is there, ischiocavernosus is there, and superficial transverse perineum is there, and
Hmm.
corpus spongiosum is not here.
Hmm. And
Superficial sphincter, external urethral sphincter is also not here.
so what you are going to mark?
Both.
If you
But
want
the
to mark, yeah, one of them, then
corpus spongiosum.
okay. Yes, you can mark corpus spongiosum, but okay, where's the question? Look, corpus. These all are the muscles of the male genital organ. Oh, where's my these all the bulbous sponges, ischio-cavernous and corpus spongiosum. These all they form as the part of the male organ, male genital organ. But only this external urethral sphincter is not a part of this. If you look, if you I go back here, why I want to show you here, look that urethra is part of the external urethral sphincter is not a part of the superficial perineal pouch. Clear, Nupur? That because all the male structures or the female organ, that is the penis and the clitoris, both of them will be there. Both of them will be present in male as well as in female superficial perineal pouch. You all are
Ma'am,
unmuted here.
so ma'am, the answer is external urethral sphincter.
Yeah, because the urethra is present. External urethral sphincter is not a content of the superficial perineal pouch.
Ma'am, but
So
in
the
the
correct,
previous question, we gave this as an answer, no? We gave both E and A as the
no,
answer.
okay, okay, then it's my mistake that I've written both of them as the same option. Only if it is urethra, then it is going to be correct answer. Also, I read it here the same way, that only urethra is a part of the superficial perineal pouch, not the external urethral sphincter. The sphincter of urethra is not a part of superficial perineal pouch. So here, the correct answer will be ischio-cavernous muscle, because external sphincter of external urethral sphincter, it's a content of. Can anyone tell me what is the content of the external urethral sphincter? Because if we look here, I'm showing you this urethra. Where is that slide? Look, and the sphincter urethral muscle. The sphincter urethral muscle, it's a part of the deep perineal pouch. The sphincter of the urethra, it's a part of the deep perineal pouch. It's not the part of the superficial perineal pouch. Please, I will correct it myself, and I'm really sorry for this, because this that deep perineal pouch contains sphincter urethra muscle, while the superficial perineal part, it contains only a part of the it contains only, if I go back here, it contains all the muscles, and it contains a part of the urethra. Not it contains urethra, but not the external sphincter urethra. It was a typing mistake by me in the question, that I wrote it like this. So the correct answer to this question will be, which of the following is not contained in the superficial perineal pouch? So the correct answer will be external urethral sphincter, because it's a part of a deep perineal pouch. Okay, who's going to take? Nupur, will you take the next one also?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, please.
What is the anatomical space of external urethral sphincter? Deep perineal pouch, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, now it's correct. All right, so will you take the next one also? It was a very simple question now. You take the next one, Nupur? Oh, wow. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please. Now, this is the blood picture, but it's a picture which came in the recent exam, 2019. You can see here this mark, this line, if you can see here. Okay, Nupur, you're unable to unmute yourself. You all are unmuted by me. Nupur,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
you able to? Yeah, all right. So you can see here this mark, the bluish one.
Yes, ma'am.
You will have to identify which structure is this. Okay. So your options are,
What is the structure in the band? Perineal membrane, urogenital diaphragm, levator ani muscle, deep perineal pouch. Can I see the picture again, please?
Yeah, sure, please.
This is deep perineal pouch.
Okay, it's you are saying it's perineal pouch. You mean deep perineal pouch?
Yes, the urogenital. The what is the structure band?
Yeah, you. What is this structure band?
No.
So
The
what do you?
one that is with red line, ma'am, that one?
No, the one with the blue, the one with this part, the blue. Let me mark it again for you. This blue part or this area, this area is which is structure. This band is which is structure.
Deep perineal pouch.
Okay, you are saying it's deep perineal pouch. Rubina says it's perineal membrane. Any other answers we can have, Sana? What would you like to answer? What is this? Sadia, can we have the answer from you? Devalina, what you say? What is it?
Ma'am, is it the full picture?
Yes, it's a full picture. Yeah. What do you say? What is it? Any guesses?
Perineal membrane.
Okay, you and Rubina are saying it's perineal membrane. Nupur says it's deep perineal pouch. So Nupur, now just go up with the answer key. I'm going with the answer key. So you just read it for us. Okay, now you can see here. What is it? Nupur, can we have you here, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So can you read it for us? That which part is it?
Ma'am, urogenital diaphragm.
Yes, this is urogenital diaphragm. Now, so now is it clear that this part is the urogenital diaphragm? Now,
Yes.
the deep perineal pouch is this above area that you were saying. This area is the deep perineal pouch. This whole one is the deep one. And this small space is a superficial perineal pouch. Okay?
Yes, ma'am, got it.
Okay. No. Okay. Sadia, would you like to take the next question? Okay. Who's going to take the next question? Diba, would you like to try, Dibalina?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Go ahead, please.
18 years old woman attends the gynecology clinic complaining of urinary incontinence. 3 months after suffering a third-degree perineal tear during a normal vaginal delivery. Which muscles form the main bulk of the levator ani muscle? Bulbospongiosus, iliococcygeus, ischio-coccygeus, pubococcygeus, urogenital diaphragm. Bulbospongiosus, ischio-coccygeus, iliococcygeus, pubococcygeus, iliococcygeus B.
B. Okay. Okay. Rubina, I would like you to answer as well also, please. What do you say? Anupa, would you like to give me an answer to this? Nupur says it's D, pubococcygeus. Robina says it's bulbospongius.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
I said D, pubococcygeus.
Okay. D,
Because
pubococcygeus.
A is not included in levator ani.
Yeah, A is not included. Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Yes, you both are right. Deebalina, the main muscle, the main bulk of the levator, and I didn't told you in my presentation today because I wanted to discuss this point here that the main bulk of the levator and eye muscle is formed by the pubococcygeus muscle. The main muscle out of the three levator and eye, anterior, mid, and the posterior, the main one is the pubococcygeus muscle, which is forming the bulk of the levator and eye muscles. And because of this muscle, the woman sometimes complains of having urinary incontinence. Will you? All right. Okay. Who's going to
All
take
right.
the? All right. Okay. Go ahead, please. Okay. Who's going to? Nupur, would you like to take?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead. Please read.
A 42-year-old woman who has had 6 children develops weakness of urogenital diaphragm. Paralysis of which of the following muscle would cause such a symptom? Sphincter urethrae, coccygeus, superficial transverse perineum, levator ani, obturator internus. Sphincter urethrae, ma'am.
Yes. Excellent. It's the sphincter urethrae muscle that is responsible for causing her symptoms. Now, Robina, would you like to take the next question?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So key is A. That is the urogenital diaphragm. It consists of a sphincter urethrae and the deep transverse perineal muscle. When there's weakness of the muscles, ligaments, and fascia of the pelvic floor, such as pelvic diaphragm, the cardinal ligament, it occurs as a result of multiple child delivery, advancing age, and menopause. The pelvic diaphragm, it is composed of levator ani and the coccygeus muscle. The superficial transverse perineum is one of the muscles of the superficial perineum, and obturator internus, it forms the lateral wall of the ischial-rectal fossa. Okay, so here your question goes, Rubina. Rubina, would you like to read the question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
All
Which
right.
muscle form the pelvic diaphragm, levator ani and coccygeus? Ma'am, A answer.
Yes, excellent. Levator ani and the coccygeus muscle. It forms the pelvic diaphragm. So any further questions? Any further questions before we end? Okay, Nupur. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.